tonight. In our commentary team, together, Andy Gray and Martin Tyler.
Thank you, Richard. Don't expect any easing off from England with the tournament won. The players all desperate to be picked for what they regard as the ultimate challenge in an international career, trying to beat Brazil. Well, Martin Keown's persistent style of defending earns him a place ahead of Gary Neville. It's a midfield of the three Pauls, Ince, Gascoigne and Scholes. Scholes, of course, who was such a hit against Italy. And the senior partnership up front for Shearer and Sheringham. Andy.
I like the look of the side, Martin. I wondered whether, having seen the way they attack this Brazil side, they could easily have gone in with Batty in that central midfield area to partner in. But that would have been a little bit negative, I think, and I'm delighted he's given Scholes and Gascoigne a chance to shine at the other end of the pitch. There's no doubt, if you're going to play well against Brazil, you've got to take the game to them, and that side there says it can take the game to them. Neville will get forward, Lasso will get forward. That'll be fascinating against Cafu and Roberto Carlos. But really, if they're going to do well, Keown, Southgate and Campbell have all got to play well.
Well, Brazil field the side that finished off that glorious game against Italy. Flavio filling in for that midfield man with shoulders as wide as a wardrobe, Mauro Silva, who's suspended. No concession from Mario Zagallo to the fact that they played just 48 hours ago. He believes that caps for Brazil have to be earned and invariably sticks to his strongest available lineup.
He certainly does, and that's another thing that delighted me. I wonder, would he rest a few? With that formation with Mauro Silva not playing, Dunga will be the one who'll help the two centre-backs. The rest of them, will take it from me, they'll just come forward and attack. What they'll produce, well, who knows?
Well, a check on the substitutes. England, of course, lacking the services of David Beckham, bitterly disappointed with his suspension. And you mentioned David Batty, Andy. He is named amongst the substitutes, but he is by no means fully fit with a groin problem. And Ian Wright damaged a toe in training. Brazil's substitutes very much bit part players in this tournament so far. Well, the comparisons between the two great number nines, Alan Shearer and Ronaldo, but it is much, much more than that. So England in red, a new strip unveiled for the senior side for the first time. They were supposed to wear it in Poland, and then there was a change of policy from the Poles that necessitated England going back to white. Some of Brazil's football has been sheer bliss, but Mario Zagallo won't have missed the point that in 3 games in Europe over the past 11 days, his team has conceded 8 goals, and they haven't won a match yet.
Well, a due one then, aren't they?
It's not the best playing surface, in truth. The Parc des Princes is used for other sports, of course, and there's a fair amount of wear and tear at this time of the year. So here's Martin Keown. And talking about the surface, maybe David Seaman might just blame it for that missed kick. It's not a ground that he has happy memories of course. It was here that Naeem beat him from very long range in that Cup Winners' Cup final a couple of years ago. First run from Roberto Carlos. Ronaldo in the centre, and Seaman wasn't anywhere near the cross, but Graham Lasso, fortunately for England, was.
Well, he wasn't anywhere near it because it was a great cross, to be fair. Opening minute, and he produces a cross like that.
Well, Brazil looking to pick up very quickly from where they left off in Lyon. Alday has made a late run towards the near post and very nearly got to it. Drops for Cafu. Leonardo had taken the corner, beckoning Cafu forward with the pass. Still Cafu! And who was there but Teddy Sheringham?
Well, they get away right out of jail, England there. That's a brilliant run from Cafu. Slipped in beautifully here, through the legs, and he's away. Pollard's trying to hold him back, but look at the strength and determination in Cafu.
England can't get out of their own penalty area at the moment. Romario, Sheringham defending again, and Shearer just happy to whack it forward. That will do to just allow England to regroup. Dunga getting it from the goalkeeper Taffarel. Just 3 England wins in 18 matches against Brazil. not one of those wins has come when there have been points at stake. In groups in the World Cup finals, where there have been meetings in 58 and 62 and 1970, or in mini tournaments like this one. This is an England squad in very fine fettle. Great celebrations when the game finally ended in Lyon on Sunday night, in the draw that guaranteed the trophy for England. And a little piece of history achieved by Ben Holland's team in France in the summer of '97. Huge throw from Roberto Carlos, but the chase by Leonardo was successful in that it's produced a corner.
He was a bit subdued, Leonardo, in the opening game, Mark. I thought he was a little bit subdued, but what they did against Italy, they did push him far further forward in contact with Romario and Ronaldo. And the way he started tonight suggests that that's the kind of area he's going to operate in again.
So another corner for England to try and deal with here. Roberto Carlos to take it. Paul Ince, we saw him having a joke with Roberto Carlos as the teams came out. Of course, they were club mates for a while at Inter. Aldair again trying to get free. That was Leonardo. Romario, and England at the moment hanging on in there.
The Rocky. What a great block from Sol Campbell, though. Well, I would expect England normally to deal with corners quite comfortably. They're just struggling a touch at the moment.
Seaman diverts it away. And Brazil had to settle for a throw, but it's all in and around that England penalty area at the moment.
Soccer, they did enough. They didn't attempt to catch that, David Seaman. I think he knew exactly what he wanted to do, just help her on and out the danger area. But at the moment, they just can't get the ball in. It's as simple as that. It's always a danger when you play this side.
And it's always a danger when Roberto Carlos spots the ball up, Valve facing him for a free kick, and it's extravagant, the angle, but he could still fancy a direct effort at goal here, although he's got four wheeling and turning in the middle. And it is the cross, and it is another corner off Ince.
I would bet that they don't score many goals from that kind of area, Mark, with headers. And they've had umpteen in this tournament so far and haven't really threatened.
Well, they've sent up Celio Silva as well as Aldair. Again, good work in the air from Ince, and here's Paul Scholes biding his time coolly in the circumstances. Gascoigne not allowed any time. Lasso with a confident touch. Scholes, that's a pass that almost got to Shearer. It stretched the defensive capabilities of Roberto Carlos to the limit, and it's not his strongest suit running back towards his own goal.
It wasn't, but he did well. Fancied Alan Shearer once he'd got an initial touch. Just to outmuscle him. But what a ball from Scholes. Keeper did well. I thought he was going to catch that for a minute. It would have been a free kick.
Oh, that's a mistake by Southgate. And Ronaldo couldn't get past Campbell.
Well, you don't see many players, once Ronaldo's in front of him, get back on him. Did ever so well, Campbell. Just about to pull the trigger, Ronaldo.
So Leonardo in his club ground here. He plays for Paris Saint-Germain, of course. It was a lovely sight at training yesterday. He had his young children with him, reunited with his family. But now down to business again. And this time putting too much meat on the corner. And England grateful to have a goal kick. For the year today, the World Cup finals start. And England's desire to be a part of it fueled even further by the events of the past few days here in France. Solidly on from Sheringham. So often, Andy, you talk about games being won and lost in midfield, but you just can't stifle Brazil in that area. I think England accept that they're going To be cut apart at times. They hope, Ben Hoddle saying yesterday, hopes David Seaman's on the top form, but they also feel that they will make chances themselves.
I think that's a fair assumption. I think it's difficult to press them, Martin. You know, a lot of times you say go and press good players. I think it's hard to go and press this side because they're just so confident in their passing ability. By doing that, you just give yourself hope.
Gallo has asked for his team to be more compact as a unit and not to get as stretched as they did. Dunga. He made his debut against England at Wembley back in 1987. Well, we've had some complaints in this tournament about the pressure of the ball. It seems strange in this high-tech age that we can't produce a football that keeps the air in it for sufficient periods. The last 90 minutes of a football match, Sheringham wasting it. Cafu. Dunga. Mario, what a renaissance for him with the national team. 7 goals in his last 5 games. So Nielsen just at the start of what promises to be a truly outstanding international career. Campbell able to deal with this ahead of Leonardo. Of himself, and then Aldair. Well, it's got to be a free kick for handball, and one would think that the yellow card should follow that.
I think they thought that Sheringham took a ride there on Dunga, and also Aldair certainly indicated they felt Alan Shearer had nudged him in the back. But no chance of that.
Sheringham got his foot to the ball. The referee, incidentally, might surprise you to learn that it is a South American from Colombia, but Mario Zagallo and his backroom staff are preparing for a competition in which Brazil play Colombia. They're in the same group in the Copa America. It is just an extraordinary schedule for Brazil. 2 games here in a spell of just over 48 hours. They fly out tonight, 1 AM, to Rio, and then on to Bolivia, and they play on Friday. First game of the Copa America against Costa Rica. England also fly out tonight, but a very simple journey home to their families.
But you won't hear of people retiredness in any of them either, Mark. They just have such a love of the game. They just want to play all the time.
You're talking about England or Brazil?
Well, I'm talking about both sets of players out there, but you mentioned the schedule that they have. England players have come back for a little rest.
They've earned it. Every England fan very proud of what the players have produced, especially, of course, in Poland, which was the platform for the way the team has played here. Make no mistake about it, they came in very psychological shape. Gascoigne's shape is always a matter of concern. He's done very well to link up with Ince. And it's a decent try from a player who's only ever scored in 1 England game. He got 2 against San Marino back in '93.
Oh, lovely confident build-up this. Great little give and go, cheeky back heel from Paul Gascoigne. They don't really push out. Aldair just stays his ground and zips into Paul Ince, go and then have a go. Struck it well enough.
So a corner for the champions of Le Tournoi against the champions of the world. Gascoigne looking for Sheringham when one might have expected the ball in simply for England's better players in the air to just try and challenge a Brazilian weakness.
Well, it's the old Teddy Sheringham corner, Martin, isn't it? Play it to that near post area for him to volley. But I don't think they're great near Brazil, and I was a little surprised. First corner, I thought Glenn might have said, well, listen, just toss one in. We've got plenty of height up there. Good targets, good headers of the ball.
Gascoigne, England have settled now after a really threatening beginning when Brazil had a succession of corners. Graham Lasso. Had to be dealt with by Celio Silva. It's back with Lasso again.
Lasso can get good ball, Martin, and get it in. Teddy Sheringham, if he can pull on Roberto Carlos, I tell you, you'd fancy him to win every header at that back post. I think that's what he's trying to do.
Gascoigne fancying his ability on the ball. Scholes letting it run. Ince, lovely play from England. Aldair certainly got the ball. The Brazilians around Scholes, claiming that he dived.
Well, referee right in the spot, yeah.
No chance for penalty. This is Gascoigne. Now Sheringham. Gascoigne, it's a difficult ball to cut back, but he's still going, and in the end, running out of space.
Well, they've settled now, no doubt about that. After that shaky opening 5 minutes, they dominated the last 2 or 3. Intelligent passing, good movement. A little unlucky, Paul Gascoigne.
Well, you can call this a real barometer for England. As far as the thermometer is concerned, it's a warm evening, humid. Romario might be more to the liking of the Brazilians weather-wise than England. Denilson is all left foot. Roberto Carlos was a long way forward there. I would have thought he was offside.
Well, his flag's up, Martin, far side, definitely. I thought he should have hit it, the boy, honestly. When Roberto Carlos made the run, it opened up for Denilson, and I thought, oh, he's just going to pull the trigger. He certainly wasn't shy in doing so. In midway at the weekend, you can see there, Roberto Carlos gone miles offside.
Shearer to lose Aldair. Dunga really in amongst the 2 centre-backs. Oh, he needs to be in there because Brazil showing the tendency to shoot themselves in the foot defensively. Shearer trying to get it in. Not sure that he was actually aiming for Scholes, or whether he just went across the ball and hooked it. He didn't get there, and here's Leonardo. With a bit of momentum there. He's a big man, and he kept on going and almost went out of his area.
Well, it took about an hour against Italy for the game to open up like this and be stretched almost the full length of the pitch. Boys waiting, that's a chair, mate. Linesman's flag stayed down. Oh dear, dear. Celio Silva, who thought he was playing him offside, looked across, begged the question, isn't he off? And then eventually the linesman decided, okay then, I'll give you it.
Teddy Sheringham actually tapped his wrist as if saying to the assistant referee on the near side, how late were you? Keown. Oh, and there's trouble here. Tasting too many cooks, almost spoiling the mix there for England. Keown and Southgate.
Well, if there's 3 players got to concentrate absolutely 100% for 90 minutes, it's got to be England's 3 centre-backs. They know that a moment's lapse in concentration against any of those 2 really could be fatal.
England's midfield players are enjoying themselves now. They're getting some of the ball in midfield and using it well.
Well, you've got 2 sets of midfield, Martin, and only really Paul Ince is any kind of player who you can say is a destroyer of any kind. Paul would take exception to that because he can play as well and pass the ball. Everybody else just gets on with it and wants to play.
Cafu. Leonardo. Gallo, the coach, saying he wanted to get Brazil back to the romantic style that Carlos Alberto Pereira took away from them, but won the World Cup with a pragmatic approach in '94. Phil Neville, who normally looks so quick in recovering, finding that he wasn't quick enough there against Denilson.
Well, they're all quick, man. I don't think they're an argument. He just went into Denilson. I think at times they get surprised by the pace of players, and I think probably Phil was a little bit surprised by Denilson's pace there. Just eases him over, then just catches him in the ankle as he's gone over.
And Denilson needing some treatment.
Oh dear. Well, that's unintentional, that. Nothing anyone can do. That's just 2 bodies crashing to the ground. He's caught a boot in the face.
That's where the sponge is being applied. Just 19 years old, his 5th cap. What an impression he left on us all with his performance in Lyon. Roberto Carlos to restart the game with a free kick against Phil Neville. Romario, Cafu, Flavio, who's coming to start in place of Mauro Silva. Aldair, Ronaldo, feeling Keown at his back, but getting it through for Leonardo. That's very good defending by Campbell.
That was excellent defending, Mark, not only to get there but to keep his eye on the ball totally. There's no doubt Leonardo was trying a little drag back, a little trick. Campbell kept his eyes firmly on the ball.
Once he played it though, he was looking around to see who just caught him. England move forward now with Sheringham. So, trying to get on the outside of Cafu. Good advantage played by the referee. Was a foul by Rousseau. Be a free kick now against Southgate. Since England played Brazil at Wembley and lost 3-1 2 years ago tomorrow in fact, been 23 internationals and England had only let in 8 goals, never more than one a game.
That looks like somebody's in a bit of pain there, Mark.
Keown went up.
He must have landed awkwardly.
Of course he fell heavily on the same side in Nantes.
He's not taking any more part, Mark. They're changing it. Signal's gone out. Gary Neville's coming racing back from behind the goal. You can tell with players' reactions. Players of Mark Keown don't stay down for nothing. Normally they bounce straight back up.
Well, 18 minutes gone. Martin Keown brought in specifically for this game. I asked Ben Hoddle whether he'd maybe pick a team from what he's seen in the other 2 games as, if you like, a best team, or would he pick a team to play against Brazil? And he said it was definitely the latter.
Oh, he's picked a team to play Brazil. This is Paul Ince's shot earlier in the match. Well, you'd expect Taffarella, an international goalkeeper, to get across to that, but it's still doing enough to trouble him. Pretty straightforward for Gary Neville, though, Mark, to just slip into that right-sided area.
He was the player who lost his place. As Keown was called up. He, like a number of the other England players, has played against Brazil before. And this is going on. Danielson is still getting attention off the pitch. Remember, there's another game to go in the Tournoi, the final match tomorrow between France and Italy. A lot of interest in Paris in that.
I think they're concerned about Danielson's vision, Mark, more than anything.
Well, it's a very sad end to the tournament for Martin Keown. Of course, has reactivated his international career this year and impressed Ben Hoddle when he was called into the squad when he was short of defenders. He stayed in contention, picked to play against Brazil, but not lasting 20 minutes. A heavy fall. Looked as though his shoulder might have been put out. And as Gary Neville is on.
Well, it's always a pity if you're a manager, you're forced to make a change as early as this in the game, but I don't think it's a change. In many respects, it would disrupt England too much.
Puts the brothers back in very close proximity, shape of the team as well. When Keown was on, there was no suggestion he'd gone man for man. It was just keeping the same shape. Italy, of course, adopted that philosophy with Panucci and Cannavaro, taking Romario and Ronaldo.
No, I think it's again good that Glenn does that, Mark, because the team are then getting used to playing that shape, playing that way. You're not tinkering with it. I don't think.
Cross by Campbell, a free header for Shearer. Again, evidence, if you get the right sort of crosses in, Brazil can be there for the taking in that sort of way.
Brazil have played about 10 balls in from wide areas so far in this match, haven't got near any. They play a ball in, lots of yellow shirts around, but look at the space Alan Shearer finds himself in. Dunga, you see Dunga's the one who's trying to get back in between the centre-backs to fill the gaps. He's almost playing as a centre-back, Dunga.
Danielson has gone back on, but they are going to, I think, take him off now. And Jalminia who was a substitute in the first game against France in this tournament, comes on to play against England, to follow in the footsteps of his father, who played for Brazil against England back in 1969. Huge throw from Roberto Carlos. And a sensible header from Paul Gascoigne. It's Phil Neville's pass, chased by Shearer, and cultured defending by Celio Silva.
Well, that's the ball. I mean, there's no doubt you can get good possession if you just feed it. Rather drilled it down the line, Phil Neville. I think he would have fed it in a weighted ball. And there's no doubt Alan Shearer will get across, and Italy showed us that you can get down the sides quite comfortably against them.
Halfway through the first half, Phil Neville's long throw. Gascoigne trying to reach it on the edge of the area, did so. Couldn't reach Lasso with the pass. Ronaldo. Mario feinted to come for the ball to feet, and then darted behind Gareth Southgate, but the ball didn't get to it. Ince. Tunga was saying yesterday, Andy, that comparison Shearer against Ronaldo has done it and Shearer hasn't proved it yet. Quite a provocative remark if you take it at face value.
He obviously didn't see Euro 96 then, did he?
Although Ronaldo was in Brazil's World Cup winning squad, didn't see much of him on the pitch. But on the other hand, is it something like 47 goals in 49 games this season for Barcelona speaks volumes for Ronaldo's reliability in club football.
What happened in the other two? That's an incredible record the lad has. And they're different players. I think it's difficult to compare when they are so different. What we know is they're both good players, I'll tell you that much. You'd have any of them in the side.
Sheringham. Coming deep to influence the play, typically. Gary Neville to Gascoigne. Paul Scholes has taken up a good position here. And Sheringham actually outside him, and there's so more infield further forward. Couldn't find either. And now there's some chasing back to do. Lasso's out of position. And here's Jalminia, who's left-footed. Couldn't get the shot through to trouble Seaman. And now Brazil have to turn and chase back as England look to counter-attack, which has been very much their style, and very good they're becoming at it. Gascoigne gets caught in possession. And that will irritate Graham Hoddle. Romario. Roberto Carlos. Jalminia. Ronaldo, Leonardo and Romario all in the centre. Roberto Carlos is getting there as well. Jalminia puts it into a testing area. Graham Lasso was in the right place, and again, if you felt there was somebody who liked attacking the ball at the far post, Brazil haven't got anyone like that.
Well, if you bet your life, if Sheringham or Shearer had been there, Mark, they'd been climbing all over the back or so.
Brazil got one or two other ways of scoring.
You better believe it, but they shouldn't ignore that. When you get two people like Cafu and Roberto Carlos flying forward and producing crosses, they should take a chance now and again. It's almost as if they cross because there's nothing else on. Well, I've run out of space, I'm on the pie line, I better throw it in, and then we'll win it back and come at them again some other way. England have defended well.
Ronaldo. They need to defend well again here. Well, they're let off the hook by Leonardo. And Mario Zagallo reflects on a very good chance for Brazil that wasn't taken.
It's a great chance. You get a little bit of luck. You know, the ball, Sol Campbell comes across well enough, but the ball breaks kindly for Leonardo, and you really felt he was going to hit the target. That's the one thing that surprised me in this. But once it broken free from there, and it sets up beautifully. But, well, he's going to test David Seaman. In the end, he didn't. It's the best chance of the match so far.
Leonardo, who of course played in the '94 finals as a left-sided defender, but has worked his way forward and has been playing here in Paris. He's almost a supporting striker. Liverpool know all about him. In the Cup Winners' Cup semi-final. Gascoigne got away from Dunga, trying to guide it on for Shearer. Brazil closed the door.
He did the first bit brilliantly. Losing Dunga. Just the pass let him down.
Jalminha, Ronaldo, change of pace that Brazil produce, and yet keep their balance and change direction as well. When it's in full working order, you would say it's unstoppable. They still have to put the ball in the net, and they haven't done that to England. They've only conceded 3 goals in 10 games under Glenn Hoddle, and won 9 of those 10. It's too far ahead of Gascoigne. Albaye, Phil Neville intercept. Ince. Gascoigne, no one round him. Give it back to Scholes. Wide for Shearer. Scholes continuing his run. Teddy Sheringham and Lasso getting into the penalty area as well. Cafu. Well, the defending has some grace to it as well. Sheringham. Shearer's offside. Gascoigne's offside, rather. The game is played on because there was no reason to stop it with Brazil in possession and moving at pace. With Romario, Seaman at his feet, and the big barrier goes up for England, and my goodness, they needed it.
Yeah, just 1 or 2 signs. Great little touch from Romario, just nicking it round Neville and he's away. Great goalkeeping, great position, starting position that is, because he's out quickly at Romario's feet.
Over Sheringham and then over Shearer, hooked forward for Brazil by Aldair, Leonardo. In the midfield, finding it hard to stay in touch. Things could do with a bit of help from Scholes and Gascoigne. In that respect, it's fine when England have the ball. Sheringham. Jalminha. Dunga, shrewdly done. Leonardo. It's a good tackle, but Leonardo picked the wrong option, Andy.
Certainly did. Roberto Carlos, who bombed up yet again. I was surprised at that on the left side. They've done well, England. Only really 2 chances. They've limited the Brazilians to so far, but just wonder if they're turning up the heat a little now.
That was the newly arrived Gary Neville, who made sure there wasn't another chance for Ronaldo. Gascoigne.
See, this is when if Paul Gascoigne and Paul Scholes, Martin, have got licence to let Paul Ince do it all in the back, lads, then what they've got to do then is dominate when the ball comes back out to them after they've won it. They've got to really make them pay. He wasn't happy there, Paul Gascoigne. He said, I go at the captain, go at Teddy Sheringham, saying, why were you all running away from him? But they actually took good positions, I think, trying to create space through the middle for Paul himself.
Whether first of all they might have been having a go at him for maybe not releasing the ball quicker. But an absorbing opening half an hour, and it's England 0, Brazil 0 in the Parc des Princes. Gary Neville, some lovely control. We saw him score a wonderful goal at Old Trafford for Manchester United against Middlesbrough. This is the complaining from Gascoigne that the men in front of him weren't taking up the position that he wanted to give the ball to their feet. Aldair. Too many scowls and complaints from England on this trip. Romario. Leonardo. Sol Campbell able to deal with that without too much difficulty. Sheringham, as he was caught at the back, and again the referee, I must say, South American or not. And England weren't happy with the Moroccan official that took charge of the game against France, but he's been really up with play. The gentleman from Colombia.
I like to be fair to him, and I've quite enjoyed his performance so far. He's trying to let the game flow. He's not trying to blow his whistle every 2 minutes if there's a piece of bodily contact. And sometimes he might seem a little slow at home with his whistle, but I think he's just actually trying to get the game to flow.
Sheringham, above Roberto Carlos, as you would expect, but not able to do much with the header.
Well, that's the kind of ball, but it's about 8 yards too far out.
Leonardo. Oh, Campbell and Seaman just wondered for a moment. We're quite a long way away, and we saw the broad picture then as to whether Campbell and Seaman were going to get too close to each other.
Well, we could see, but we couldn't hear. And obviously the chat between the two was good.
Brazil presenting the ball to Alan Shearer, and it's a free kick in an area where, if it was against England, we would certainly worry.
Listen,
for England, what can Ben Hoddle's tricks on the training ground produce?
well, I've seen Alan Shearer tuck a few away from that sort of area. I think his first goal for Newcastle was one about there. Bent it into the far corner. He certainly fancy it. That's why your main striker's over it. He's not standing out there because he doesn't want to get involved. He's standing there because he fancies hitting this, I feel.
He's taking seniority over Gascoigne, who's not wanting to move away either. The delay is because the referee is getting the Brazilian wall back the correct distance. So Alan Shearer, 11 goals in his last 11 internationals, and hanging his head slightly.
Well, the goalkeeper didn't react, which suggests it was always setting off wide and never coming back, and it certainly did.
On target only for the camera. Brazil came up here yesterday on the high-speed train service, which is so impressive here in France. And flew north from Montpellier on Sunday.
We talk about playing games, Martin, and Zagallo has been amazing in the fact that he hasn't tried to change. He's only changed when he's really been forced to in many respects. And I just wonder, you think of the energy that people like Cafu and Roberto Carlos are putting into the game, and all Leonardo's of this world, and you think, well, you know, there's going to be a time in this game when they might just feel a little fatigued.
And there'll be a lot of our viewers hoping that there is plenty of time when they feel the effects of their exertions in Lyon. Given it against Scholes.
Yeah, it just sat up a little bit. Left arm might have been used. Yeah. But lucky. Good idea, quick free kick before they settled.
He made that run against South Africa. Gascoigne picked him out, and the quick up went 3 in the right. England won the game. Scholes settled in straight away. Senior side. It's nicely constructed by England in midfield, but Sheringham had come for a shorter pass, and Ince just encourages Gascoigne, who was disappointed that that broke down. Dunga. Of course, England all talking about their respect for Brazil, but that's a two-way street. Sort of studied what England have done here. There's no doubt that the image of English football around the world has greatly improved by what's happened in the Tournoi. Here's Roberto Carlos to Ronaldo. Still, we understand it, a Barcelona player, although he seems to break every day. Nice cleansing more than anything else by Sheringham. Well, Roberto Carlos has gone across. It's about the same spot as against France, or a little bit further out.
Probably about 2 or 3 yards further out, but not much more than that.
And now he's come away again.
I often wonder when the ball's that far out, Mark, that a wall sometimes hinders a goalkeeper in many ways. I wonder if you stood him there, took every player off the pitch but David Seaman and says, go on then son, see how many times you can beat me from there with no one else on the pitch. There wouldn't be many, I would guess. But the wall, sometimes in this sort of range, just hinders goalkeepers a touch. You don't see it till a little later.
Celio Silva, it was a very big England wall and a strong one. This is Jalminia, wanting to work it onto the left foot again, charged down well by Southgate. He's got to carry it forward himself if he can. But in the end, that at least allow him to get back into his defensive role. As Brazil take it up again with Dunga. Romario, Leonardo. Chase on for Shearer, and Aldair forced his way across Shearer's path. England captain looking for some help from the officials and not getting it. Jalminia, it's behind Southgate. Ronaldo, and well saved David Seaman. Ronaldo caught Southgate out.
First time as well, lovely diagonal run. Ball played in was a great ball. Southgate's absolutely helpless, but David Seaman did well, stood his ground, stood big. Didn't commit himself too early. It's a fine save.
Brazil's one they favour for Romario backing off, and he gets it down. Dunga, always flying too high. It's almost as if this is their answer to Teddy Sheringham's corner.
I mean, it's always as if we say, well, there's no point in putting it in the middle of the goal. We can't get a goal there. We'll knock it wide and pull it down and then go and start again.
Don't forget, another great night of boxing coming up on June the 28th. Holyfield and Tyson, The Return. It's a special pay-per-view event on Sky Box Office. For information, call 0990 800 888. 0990 800 888. Jalminia's pass. Romario. That's Flavio. We haven't seen too much of him. Harry Neville got it up in the air, and then as the ball came down, he was shoved by Leonardo.
Yeah, just enough. Little nudge.
Out, Andy, that Brazil at the best in most facets of the game. Certainly the physical side, they very rarely get roughed out of matches.
Not anymore, they don't, do they? There was often a case for that in the 70s, 60s, that teams did used to rough them up a little bit. No, these guys are physically strong, Mark. They stand their corner.
Slip. And Ronaldo is...
That's dangerous now.
Brought down.
Well, the crowd him out. Paul Gascoigne anxious to get back in. A little bit reckless with the tackle. He's late. No doubt it's a free kick. Might have been unnecessary. It might be costly.
So Gascoigne on Ronaldo. Under 5 minutes to go to half-time. England have pulled everyone back behind the ball. Roberto Carlos has already adorned this tournament with one of the most wondrous free kicks you're ever likely to see. Jalminia is there as well, closer to the ball. And he takes it, but not to any effect at all.
They like that one. That's the other one they work quite well, and Roberto Carlos attempts, sets off early with that long run. And then the player nearest the ball. We've tried this with Leonardo a couple of times in the tournament. Just 2 steps and looking to just bend it in the corner, take the goalkeeper by surprise. You've got to hit the target to do that. I think Glenn Hoddle will be fairly pleased, Mark, with the level of performance from his side, particularly defensively. I think he would like to have troubled Brazil a little bit more. We just need to try and trouble him a bit more at the other end of the pitch. They've coped quite well.
Gascoigne. So, who has scored against Brazil at Wembley the last time the two countries met. Brazil and 3 of their own. Cafu. Roberto Carlos. Ronaldo. By Shearer. Interesting confrontation, and he kicked out at Shearer, but Shearer getting booked. They're both getting booked. Shearer for the first challenge, and Ronaldo quite properly for retaliation.
That's too crazy bookings, isn't it?
It was almost as if they'd been reading all this hype about who's the better player. They were going to sort it out eyeball to eyeball, head to head. It's a free kick against Shearer. Booking for the two number 9s. They're both kicked out.
He's given as good as he gets there, Alan Shearer, isn't he? Backing in and using his body strength.
Southgate really felt he couldn't use any pace. There wasn't any on the ball to get it back to the goalkeeper with a header. I think every England player feels that this is a personal challenge.
So they should, yeah. I think they should. You might not often play against the world champions. When you do, you feel like you're playing against the best, you want to stand up, be counted, you want to beat them. What a feather in their cap this would be.
That was why David Beckham was nearly in tears, really, when he realised he'd be suspended. He's young enough to hope that he's going to get another chance. You never know, he might play for the world champions one day.
No chance now.
Scholes. It's on the short side. Romario behind Cafu, fortunately for England, who have dropped back with Sheringham to make sure that they're not getting outnumbered in midfield. Gascoigne. Shearer's gone to the left and no one with him, and Shearer might be a bit annoyed he didn't get the ball there. Still standing on that far side. Gascoigne almost deliberately going in the opposite direction to Phil Neville. Southgate. Does look for Shearer, but it's a long way from finding him. Stoppage time at the end of the first half. Remember, Martin Keown was down for a while with that sad shoulder injury that's taken him off the pitch. Roberto Carlos. Dunga. Now Jalminia. Leonardo. Plenty of England players behind the ball. Celio Silva beautifully picking out Roberto Carlos. Ball for Brazil in the centre. Romario was the one closest to the cross. Hoisted forward by Dunga. England making sure, having started the game rather tentatively and shakily, they can finish the half with much more control to their play.
I think Glenn wanted me to pass the ball just a bit better second half as well, Martin. They've passed it brilliantly against Italy. They haven't quite been up to that standard when they've had the ball in the opening half.
Gascoigne. Past Leonardo. Gives it to Shearer this time. He turned to Sheringham. Came back into an area where England had a lot of players.
Yeah, it should have been going the other way, Mark, definitely. The soul was certainly on wide.
Well, it's half-time, and David Seaman applauds the fans who applaud the goalkeeper. It was a difficult beginning to the half for England defensively, and then when they needed Seaman, he was there with great authority at the feet of Romario, and then when Ronaldo slipped in behind Gareth Southgate, there was enough of David Seaman behind the shot. And given the joie de vivre, to use a local expression, about Brazil's football on Sunday and the way they tore Italy apart, particularly in the second half, England will be pleased with the clean sheet so far. It's 0-0 in Paris at half-time. Perhaps not what the organisers hoped for. The prices are high, but every game in this competition has left a deep impression in the memory. Roberto Carlos bending Brazil into the lead in Lyon against France, the flow to England's football against Italy, the resistance against the French in Montpellier, and the win sealed by Shearer, and then the flamboyance of Italy and Brazil, described by Michel Platini as the perfect aperitif for the World Cup finals, which I remind you again starts 1 year today. And what we've had from 45 minutes here in Paris is an intriguing battle between a side that's already won the trophy but doesn't want to finish on a low note by losing. And Brazil, who play in so many tournaments between the World Cups and so used to winning them, very disappointed where they find themselves in this particular grouping, and they need to win to guarantee second place. Roberto Carlos. Dunga. Romario raising an arm, saying that Southgate used an arm, and again the referee was extremely well placed to make the right decision. Gascoigne making the right decision, get away from Flavio. Andy, what did you make of the first half?
Very much like the boys in the studio, Mark. I think England did well up to a point. I think they defended well. Only two real good chances they conceded to the Brazilians. But I just think that Glenn would have wanted a little bit more up top in the attacking third. Thought they let things peter out too easily. Passing wasn't good, and it wasn't that crisp either. I think that'd be the one thing he was saying. Let's make our passing a bit better. And when we have the ball, let's keep it a little bit longer. You know, but Brazil certainly know if they're going to score, they're going to have to play well. Because the three that are at the back now, and Mark Keown did well when he was on, now Gary Neville's in his place alongside Southgate and Campbell, have performed well. There's no doubt about that. It ain't bad when you've got one of the best goalkeepers in the world behind you as well, I have to say though.
Sheringham, for whom things didn't quite come off in the first half. Well, Shearer was fouled. The referee was probably not sure that the ball was going to run onto Scholes. It did, and rather stopped England in their tracks, the whistle for the free kick. Well, that's very cynical from Dunga, who's not blessed with the greatest amount of pace at the age of 33. He's talking about retiring after the World Cup finals.
Well, they tend to do that, the Brazilians. They're not great tacklers, defenders, even their defenders. And they tend, when players get past them, just to hack them down.
So it's a free kick to England. Ronaldo delaying the taking of it, so can England give the Brazilians a taste of their own medicine here? We're certainly back the correct distance, and it's Teddy Sheringham looking for some swerve, Spurs style.
Well, he's certainly capable from that sort of range, just doesn't get it up high enough. He's looking to turn it back in top corner, away from the goalkeeper.
ball from Dunga. Ronaldo's around, you play safe.
Wise decision. So well, Dunga kept his eye on that.
Shearer trying to make the space for the ball to go through. Dunga had given away the free kick. I'm sure that the side had to lose a goal from it. Jalminia. Free kick given against Gascoigne. Wasn't happy with the decision, but it has been given. Fifth minute of the second half. Roberto Carlos with a characteristic long run-up. David Seaman looking like a goalkeeper who's expecting a shot, and he's right to expect it, and he's got it up and just over the bar.
Well, the quality's all in the strike. I mean, if he scores for here, he's a magician. And that doesn't move much. You see David Seaman's got a good long look at it. Just moves at the end. Just moved about a yard at the end for David to deal with. Kept his eye on it, wasn't thinking of holding it. Pushing it up and over. That was all that was in his mind.
And we're looking deep for Romario again. He's done the retrieving.
Well, they're a confident bunch, aren't they? Been trying this sort of thing from that sort of angle against the quality of goalkeeper that we know David is.
And doing enough with it to make David Seaman uncertain about his save as to whether he had turned it over the bar. The bulldozer there on Shearer was Celio Silva. He's a fairly junior member of the Brazilian defence in terms of appearance, but his international career starting quite late. He's 29 now. Gascoigne, but there's a quick challenge by Dunga. Campbell making sure there was no supply for Ronaldo. They must continue to do that. Ince. Hoisted forward by Southgate, was so well forward as I'm sure Van Hoddle would want him to be, but look at the room now. They're going to got to try and close down. There's Cafu. Takes it up for Brazil. Gets it back from Romario, but getting players around the ball, pressing in quickly. So very neatly against the touchline and against the challenges, and it's a free kick in his favour.
He did well to avoid this one. That's a horrible, ugly tackle, from attempt at a tackle from Cafu. He did well to get out of the way.
Gascoigne.
Now it's just here, Mark, sorry, you want him to keep possession a little bit better, a little bit longer. That's happened too often, I think, in that third of the pitch. Just having trouble going off. Well, it's exaggerated, Dunga. It was a little nudge from Paul Scholes, nothing more.
And Paul Scholes, who was booked against Italy, found himself up against a canny old pro here in Dunga, but they both get booked for the episode.
Well, there's much ado about nothing. I mean, Dunga wins it, Paul Scholes pulls him down, that's the free kick there. I'm not so sure then what Dunga actually did. I know Paul Scholes just has a little nudge just there, look. Whether he's booked him for play acting, I think that's probably deserving of a yellow card, the way he threw himself about there.
And Brazil claiming a corner and getting it. Although the official who's made the decision is the assistant on this side, and it looks a good decision.
That's a great decision. Romario did brilliantly.
This time a short corner. Campbell head and shoulders above the Brazilians, and Dunga the deceiver, as he was a moment or two ago in that incident with Scholes, able to land one of his long-range specials. a negative, if you like, that Glenn Hoddle's got to deal with from this tournament. There have been so many positives, but the disciplinary side for England has to be improved if they get to the World Cup finals. Well, suspensions can really hit you hard. The yellow cards mount up so quickly when indiscipline is shown. And I think that's what, 9 England bookings. And the third game not yet over in this competition. Leonardo, Jalminia, crowd responding to that, and Cafu. Flavio. Wants to just shepherd it out. Oh, and the quick throws caught England out. Leonardo, but Seaman's come out.
Sheringham did well, Martin. He went to sleep a little when the ball went for a throw. Leonardo made a lovely run across, looking for a quick throw. Just as well, Teddy Sheringham was alive to that.
So, it's not the sort of players, in truth, that it's not the sort of pitch rather that the England players enjoy working on, but the Brazilians who are used to brought up on bad pitches, not worrying Leonardo to lift the ball around as it bounced up like that.
Right, they've got great skill. That little bit of skill there was the one that got the Brazil fans up and off their seats for about the first time in the match.
Jalminia. Sorted out by Gascoigne. England haven't broken with real pace in this match. Gascoigne again. And getting caught by Jalminia, and what will that mean? Roberto Carlos is there. That was a position to put in a decent cross, and it was anything but that.
And that was a chance to deliver. Get a lucky break here. This is an ambitious ball looking for Ronaldo. I think this is a little bit of skill earlier. Yeah, it is. That one there from Jalminia. That was a little drag back, and the ball played out wide here that got the crowd going. He didn't really go anywhere from there.
Well, it was another test of England's defending, and it stood the strain. But will it now? Jalminia. He'll get it back. Still Jalminia! Well saved, David Seaman.
What a save, son. Well, if we've seen the goal of the season from the Brazilians in the first match, that might well be the save of the tournament. He really strikes this onto his left foot, drills it, and that's going at some pace. Great position, edge of 6-yard box. Good strong hand up to the ball.
Corner from Roberto Carlos. That was Celio Silva in twice. Scholes trying to get it away. Cafu! It's a difficult ball to hit, but he struck it very cleanly. Seaman has thrown it cleanly, and Phil Neville has hardly been on the gallop because he's had to deal with what Brazil had to offer down his side of the pitch. Was able to at least advance there.
Well, this is a strike again, and just watch the power in this strike. That is flying, and that's great goalkeeping. Absolutely top class.
And that is spectacular from Gascoigne, and the crowd like that as well. Phil Neville just taking too long to line up the cross.
He's not the most talented man. You've mentioned the Brazilian side doing him up, but what a job he does for them.
Yes.
You know, without him, they really would get exposed time and time again.
And they keep coming back to him.
Yeah, they do, don't they, for big tournaments. Where is he now? They keep saying, well, let's try Japan.
Sheringham lets it run. Scholes!
Well, they went to sleep for Brazil. Sheringham with that much space, he could have put his foot on it himself.
Leonardo. Philip Neville in the way. So his Manchester United and England colleague Paul Scholes. Here's Shearer into Sheringham. Hasn't been too much of the understanding we've seen so often between the two up top tonight. Not too much supply either. Romario coming deep to get into the game himself. Leonardo. Cafu need to bang it across to Roberto Carlos, and it's got there. He's trying to take on Phil Neville. Southgate got a bit lucky. to get it out. Leonardo.
What did he attempt there? Did you see that? I wasn't quite sure what it was.
I'd like to see it again, and happily we're going to.
Well, back heel it round one side and run round the other. He almost made it.
Well done, Gary Neville. Here's the corner. Oh, would have been an own goal, as Southgate was first to it. Just ahead of the near post, another corner. Scholes took a touch, and Flavio took the ball from him. Were we wondering whether Brazil were going to get tired about this time in the game?
Yeah.
It's England that are looking strained and stretched at the moment. Romario. Jalminha. Celio Silva. Well, the crowd liked it, but I think England would be happy, even against Brazil, for them to keep coming from this range with Seaman in this sort of form.
Oh yeah, particularly from the centre-backs.
Well, Mario Zagallo has been there, done it, as a player, as a coach. Whenever Brazil have been around the great games around the world, he's been somewhere involved. And he says this is his last quest, to go and retain the World Cup, to win it again in Europe, which they did in '58 when he was a player, the only time the nation from the opposite continent, so to speak, has won on the foreign fields. Flavio and Ronaldo and Leonardo and Romario. England in trouble, and a goal down. Romario playing against England for the first time, scores against England. The signs were there, and this time nothing Seaman could do about it.
It's a brilliant goal, Martin, simple as that. An absolute peach, and so typically Brazilian. The touch initially from Ronaldo's a brilliant one, because Leonardo's got that little bit of space for about the first time in the match. That ball is an absolute gem, because it just kills Gareth Southgate. Absolutely kills him stone dead. But there's a lot of work to do. Look at the way he just toe pokes it. How often have you seen Romario just toe poke the ball past the goalkeeper? It's not a fluke, something he's done all his career. So calm, so composed. One touch outside of the foot, steadies it with the next. That's a lovely slot. Absolutely.
Well, he's such a complicated character. Half the time the Brazilians don't know where he is, and the other half of the time the opposition don't know where he is. But when he's called to the colours, and he's back in favour this year, he's come back with a great sense of purpose and a whole collection of goals, 8 in 6 games now since his return.
Might it be that there's a certain young lad up there playing, Martin, 20 years of age alongside him, who might just be a joy to play alongside. He might be thinking, hold on a minute, this young kid might just lengthen my international career for 1 or 2 more years.
Here is the goal scorer. England are behind. The first goal they've conceded away from England under Glenn Hoddle. Dunga. Ince.
I still fancy England will get a chance, Martin.
Well, it ricocheted. Ince didn't give it up, and it flew to Shearer. Lassau's cross. Sheringham is the deepest. Paul Scholes in the thick of things, but he couldn't get to the ball. Celio Silva, in fact, did the job for him. Got it to Gascoigne. Lassau. Campbell. Now Southgate. This really is a test of the calibre of this England team. Gascoigne trying to rise to this challenge. Lasso hugging the touchline. Shearer and Sheringham swapping positions in the centre.
Just watching it develop, Martin, I'm just glancing into the centre, looking at the defending. The marking isn't brilliant whatsoever.
Scholes! Well, it didn't come at a very good height. Maybe just had to reach behind him for the volley.
I think the goal ain't a bad thing sometimes in a game if we lost it. I think England might well have been happy at 0-0. The players might be saying, well, after all, we're playing the World Champions, we've won the tournament, we've beaten France in home soil, we've beaten Italy. But now they've got to go for it, it's as simple as that. And I think it just might help their game. I can't believe that's a booking, surely not. I hope this referee's not around next year, I have to say, Martin, otherwise we'll run out of yellow cards. He just stood his ground, used his weight. Didn't do an awful lot wrong there to me. Absolutely nothing, he was just stronger. As you say now, is that double figures for England? 10, is that? Yellow cards?
Yep, and here another statistic that England fans will be hoping isn't looming large is a second goal for Brazil.
Well, look at the angle there, man. He surely can't bend that round the outside of the wall.
It's Roberto Carlos, and well, he dragged it, and a little bit of an inquest going on.
It's something that I've looked at.
Got through the wall.
What happens sometimes, and I often wonder why more coaches don't think about it. Look at walls, watch what teams do. An awful lot of teams jump these days. You see Paul Ince was looking to jump there because they do feel that they can get another couple of feet in height and makes it difficult to bend over it. I've often wondered at times why people don't just drill it like that along the ground. Won't that make life difficult for goalkeepers?
Do you think that was a deliberate?
No, I don't. That was definitely a scuff, but I mean that's the reason it might work.
Gary now. Shearer got to it well. Scholes. Here's Ince carrying England forward, but he's got no support, so Paul Ince has to go it alone now. The referee's got to take some action here. Celio Silva. And the Brazilians, professionals to the nth degree, really, trying to put pressure on the referee by disputing it. I mean, there is no case for disputing it.
No, that's what I said, they're brilliant at that. They're not great defenders. Look at him, he doesn't even look anywhere but Paul Ince. The ball's going past me, he says, but you're not. That's a yellow card, simple.
But a real show of bravado by Ince, who's had such a splendid international season, really plays like a man who knows he belongs at this level of the game. Well, it's a sight of Taffarel's goal for England. There haven't been too many of them, with 3/4 of the game gone.
Gascoigne, isn't it?
Gascoigne bends it, and Taffarel was across and probably would say he had it covered. Wasn't far away.
No, it couldn't have been that far away. We've got a good idea from here. Goes round the wall. Look at the bend, it's trying hard, it's trying hard. Goalkeeper's across, you're right. Went early, the goalkeeper gets across. He's quite happy that it's going wide. Well, there's plenty in this game left for England, certainly. I think a little bit up tempo, a little bit better. Push Sheringham up just a touch maybe, up against the two centre-backs.
Gascoigne looking to control it his way. Southgate. Campbell. I hoped Rousseau was there, but he was expecting Campbell to get it. Cafu stepped in gratefully for Brazil. Well, Gonçalves being asked to put some sort of bib on while he's warming up. Roberto Carlos, Ronaldo, Romario, danger looming again. Just a one-up for England, showing him looking for Shearer. Celio Silva likewise.
What Italy did well, Martin, when they were defending that, they broke the two. Certainly when Inzaghi was up, him and Del Piero made sure that he got up with Inzaghi as much as possible, and that's what caused him harm. But I think if they only leave Shearer up like that when they break, then the two centre-backs should be fairly comfortable.
Here's Lasso. Sheringham. Gary Neville, his brother, 20 yards ahead of him now, coming into closer range and taking up a position to support from behind. England have learnt the importance of keeping possession, not being panicked into playing an adventurous pass, although the long ball was picked off in the end by Brazil.
Well, this is as good a bit of possession as England have had in the match.
Lasso, past Cafu. Shades of Roberto Carlos here from Graham Lasso. That's very well done by Flavio. And Brazil have got 5, maybe 6 players who can join in this attack. Jalminha. Leonardo.
That's good defending. Did well, Flavia. Great skill at the end of it, wasn't it? As well. Just tricks Graham Lasso and they play their way out. It's almost as if they're loath to make a pass back, as if it's not accepted in their country. You're not allowed to pass the ball back when you have it at your feet.
Gascoigne. Starting to hear the Brazilian rhythms around the stadium now. Instruction by Roberto Carlos on Philip Neville.
That's a little bit of skill I was talking about. No, not content just to drill it down the line 70 yards, but just drag it back and I'll just pop the meat off and off we go and attack again.
And it's England attacking here with a free kick. And left 1-on-1 at the back, so there's a deep ball looking for Sheringham. A nice kick by Teddy Sheringham, who's now hoping that Brazil don't break quickly here, but they could have done had that been taken in the stride by Cafu. But we talk about the sort of circus that surrounds Brazil everywhere they go, Andy. They were offered a nice country retreat, the sort that England are using outside Paris. They said, no, we want to stay right in the town centre. Scholes is offside.
Only just.
So they had a day between matches yesterday. Players were off shopping, and I mean, it is very different, but very successful. Scholes trying to get through the centre. Understand the urgency, but he was just too quick. Flavio. Leonardo is in behind England here. Ronaldo goes to the near post. Ronaldo, and he didn't get the touch, and Sol Campbell did.
Well, Leonardo, the amount of time to do this, Martin, you think you've got a tackle and they're not there. They're just gone. And that's exactly what happens to Nelly. He has a little look up, Leonardo, look at him looking. He's thinking, who's coming? He's going to pass it in. Side foot, looking for Ronaldo, who I actually thought missed it.
It's a chance.
Yeah, I thought it was a chance.
There. Yeah.
He just missed it with the stab with the right foot.
Well, here comes the corner. Here comes Seaman. Your vote for man of the match, of course, and the number coming up. First of all, we'll deal with the number coming up from the fourth official. Shearer. Gascoigne. So
substitutes now, Mark.
Well, Ian Wright, who had this damaged toe, is needed. Hurt in training. He's coming on for Sheringham.
Looks like Paul Scholes is making his way there as well, Mark.
And Rob Lee is the replacement for him.
Many good substitutions, like the players there. Particularly I was talking about playing up front alongside Shearer. I think Wright will undoubtedly do that, and I think will give the defenders more to cope with his running ability and power. Rob Lee, we know, will bomb forward.
So's throw. Shearer in there. It's a foul on Shearer by Cafu. It's been a pretty positive response from England to going a goal down. Gascoigne takes it. Rob Lee will collect here. That's a bit of help, and there isn't much around. Neville right back on the halfway line. Beyond. Ince. Maybe now Brazil will start feeling the effects of 2 games in 3 days. Right. Made by Aldair. Mario playing the ricochet quite deliberately to get the throw.
Got great ability. Sometimes he looks so lethargic about his game, Mario, doesn't it? But then he just sparks in the right areas.
Jalminia getting away from Lee. Romario is up there as well. But I'm going to recognise by the junior Neville. So England have got to pass the ball better than that if they're going to maintain their unbeaten record in this competition. Campbell. Now Lee. Now Phil Neville, right ahead of him. Shearer through the centre. Ince. Gascoigne can go right or left. Campbell. Now Lasso. And it's England's throw. Ian Wright is alert to it. The referee believes he was alert to some antics there from Wright to try and get a free kick that he wasn't prepared to give. Gascoigne. Well, they doubled up on him. And Ronaldo's pass dips over Gary Neville. He's got a problem because Romario can attack him here. Ronaldo not quite up to reputation.
Such as that reputation. Oh, a little disappointed when he scuffs it.
Man of the match. Your vote, of course, 0891 111101. Aldair. Oh no, Ronaldo has never stopped wanting the ball in the halfway position between midfield and up front, in support of Romario and Ronaldo, where he was very involved with that final pass for the only goal of the game. Flavio. Cafu herring forward, Lesotho kept pace with him. Leonardo there again. It's just the sort of position that England have found it hard to tie him down in. Right. Just over 10 minutes left. Lee. Just over 10 minutes to go in a long, long season for these England players. Can they find one more goal? Aldair. Well, the word Zagallo used was compact, Andy, about his team. Do you see them that they have been more compact?
Yeah, they've been a little bit more disciplined, and particularly Dunga is almost at times just played as an extra centre-back. I don't think Cafu and Roberto Carlos tonight, Martin, have bombed forward. I mean, I've watched both Brazilian games, and at times they just go forward non-stop. But I think they've been a little bit more reserved tonight. They've maybe chosen the runs a little bit more carefully, a bit more selective.
Campbell was grateful, I think they lost Ronaldo for a moment. Grateful that Ronaldo had prodded the ball at him. Jalminia. Romario. Jalminia letting it run for Ronaldo. Can't go through Campbell. He stood up to the test, I think, very well indeed. He's had an excellent year.
He's had a smashing 80 minutes as well in this match, Sol Campbell.
Ince. Now Ian Wright in a chase, but when it comes to sprinting, Roberto Carlos has plenty to offer.
I think that's a little example of maybe just tucking back in a little bit. Not being so carefree, particularly 1-0 up. Now, I'm sure there must be one or two of them now feeling a little tired. It's a good run from Ian Wright. If that ball could have been delivered a little bit straighter, perhaps Roberto Carlos might not have got round.
Gascoigne. And Celio Silva, and Taffarel, who hasn't had too many touches of the ball, has to kick it away. Shearer was in there looking for the sort of goal that sunk the French. Gascoigne. And then trying to come on strong in the finish. Gary Neville. Lee. Now Philip Neville. Now we're trying something that was...
something that he's seen this week.
Yes. Perhaps hasn't quite mastered.
A little bit of tinkering to be done with it. Nice to see him try.
Romario. Jalminia, that's beautifully done for Ronaldo. Oh, and Romario, and it so nearly came off again.
I don't know whether is he a touch surprised that the pass actually comes to him from here. Did he fancy Jalminia was going to hit it? He just seemed to be trying to just run across the line, not really looking for the ball.
Might have been concentrating on staying onside. That's going to be a substitution for Brazil. And Leonardo comes off. Much appreciated his contribution here in his club home. And Zé Roberto gets his first taste of Le Tournoi, another Brazilian who earns his living away from his home country. He's based with Real Madrid. Just to remind you that another great night of boxing coming up on June the 28th, Holyfield and Tyson. It is the return, a special pay-per-view event on Sky Box Office. Information, call 0990 800 888, 0990 800 888. to challenge to him. Ian Wright. Shearer goes to the left. Wright finds it. Brazil getting players back. Shearer looks back to see Ince. Gascoigne gets there. Just was tripped. We're hearing some sad news that Martin Keown, who's been to hospital for an X-ray, has a confirmed broken arm.
That just confirms the free kick.
Over 5 minutes to go. Gascoigne reversing it cleverly to Lasso. No one went with him for Brazil. Campbell is in there, doesn't drop England's way. Clever ball from Paul Gascoigne.
That's disappointing, that when that happens in a game like this. So much space, so much time, so many options for Graham Lasso, and he didn't miss the front man.
Dunga able to measure the clearance. Southgate is there. He's another whose game has come on. There was a understandable dip after what happened in the Euro '96. He lost his place. Circumstances combined for him to be needed again by Glenn Hoddle. And he's grown into that role in the middle of the back three. Cafu.
Well, I've taken 1-0. Looks to me, Mark, Brazil now. Even they're starting to knock the ball a little bit longer, a little bit hopeful. Cafu's not going forward. Roberto Carlos, I think, he's on automatic. He just wants to go forward. And Cafu looks to me as if he's just staying at the back, trying to help them.
Still time for that to be shown to be foolish policy, if it's that. I don't want to labour the point about fatigue, but I watched Brazil train here yesterday, and you could see how drained they were by the events in Lyon on Sunday. No surprise in that. They did very, very little. Mario Zagallo said, "You're my best players. You go out and play again and get us a win." And they're closing in on that. England, though, are winners. We mustn't forget that, and that presentation is to come. A crystal football. Looking into your crystal ball, Andy, what do you see ahead for England in the World Cup?
Oh, good times, I think.
Test, yeah?
Obviously, the test in Rome is going to be a huge one, Martin. Totally different to the game that they played in Nantes earlier this week against the Italians. England players know that. Glenn Hoddle knows that. But I think if they do manage to qualify for next summer, I think they've let it be known this tournament they're a force to be reckoned with. I think we're going back home, whether it be English, Scottish, Irish, Welsh, we always tend to knock each other a little bit too much. What this tournament has done is shown that England are up there with the best of them and could stand on in any field, in anywhere in the world and compete.
Gascoigne. Now the England fans trying to fuel the team with the cry of champions, champions. Sol Campbell. And it's misjudged by Roberto Carlos. Philip Neville for England. Oh, Taffarel just about hung on to it. It wasn't a very testing shot to deal with, but the goalkeeper didn't convince, but he did catch.
Well, it almost comes out, doesn't it? They close him down eventually, but look at that. Oh, dear. And who was right on the spot? Mr. Shearer himself was waiting on anything. But that's why you can never rest on a 1-0. Certainly Brazil can. Because those sort of little lapses in defending happen just too often. That's why even at 88th minute, fast approaching, you know, if they go forward, there's every chance they'll create another chance from somewhere.
The results, even taking tonight into account, have been very impressive for England. The performances, which really have been more important in a competition like this, have certainly caught the eye of the watching world, as Andy was saying. Rob Lee's shot, And Ben Hoddle will tell you that the learning curve is as pronounced as the bend on the ball off a Brazilian boot. That's the ball that England will be taking home with them. The prize for the Tournoi for France, the prize for man of the match. You have voted to England's David Seaman. Flag was up. Beaten by Romario though. Goal worthy of winning the game, as it looks as though it's going to do, unless England can dig deep down into their resources in the time that remains. They put so much in. Gascoigne. Here's Rob Lee. England had plenty of players in the middle. They weren't quite set to swing the ball in, and I suppose it does come in. It's not from a very good angle, but Shearer's trying to make something of it, make it awkward for Taffarel. Ronaldo. Cafu. Shearer in the way. England need to get some control possession. It was Gascoigne in the way, and the Tournoi is nearly over as far as Brazil and England are concerned. Still France against Italy to come, and Italy a revitalised force, as we saw in Lyon. France being questioned by the critics in this country. They'll want to put on a performance well worth watching tomorrow night on Sky Sports. I'm sure you want to see the tournament through. It's the time for one last England attack. There haven't been too many, Andy, you would say obviously not enough given Brazil's supposedly fragile defence, but it hasn't been Brazil totally committed to going out in that swashbuckling style.
No, it certainly hasn't. I think undoubtedly the match against Italy, Martin, I think did take a bit out of certain players, and I don't think they've been quite at 100%. I think it was a game where England, certainly as the players, would have been certainly nervous coming into it, even though they've got such a great record. They are playing the world champions. This would have been a big game for the England players. Perhaps they too were maybe just a touch tentative. Certainly Shearer and Sheringham and Wright certainly didn't get enough of the ball really to harm. That you can be sure of. And they didn't quite pass the ball well enough all through the team.
Well, it will be England's third defeat only in 35 games, and 2 of those defeats against Brazil. That's if Brazil see it through here. Don't need to tell you about the other one at Wembley in February. Could still have very serious consequences. Let's not forget that. But here is, say, Roberto.
Not a big plus for Glenn Hoddle, Martin. There's another 12 months of experience for the young players that he's brought through in the last couple of months. That's going to be a huge factor next summer.
So Roberto, Ronaldo. And England just can't get the ball. Brazil wanted to do more than just keep it though. Jalminha and Ronaldo flying through the air. Wasn't reflecting great credit on him as he tried to win a free kick. It was a hand-off by Southgate. But he had a better chance of getting something if he hadn't dived. Well, it is the final whistle. A fantastic few days for England, but it ends in defeat. Second best to Brazil tonight, but safe in the knowledge that not even the world champions could prevent the picking up of a trophy here in Paris tonight. The emphasis for England throughout their stay in France has been on learning, and the lesson's certainly there in this game. The standard still set by the planet's most powerful footballing nation. One goal, though, was all that England conceded, and what a very good goal it was. And the interpassing, the speed of thought and movement, And although Ronaldo's been attracting so many headlines, we should not forget what vintage form Romario is back into. And he has given Brazil a victory in their 4-game visit to Europe. Remember, it started with a 4-2 defeat in Norway, and then the 2 draws in the Tournoi against France when they were the better side for long periods, the wonderful, wonderful game against Italy in Lyon. If it had gone on another 5 minutes, Andy, they probably would have won it 5-3, but they've got their win tonight. What do you make of it?
Yeah, they have, and I think probably on the night they deserved to win the match. They looked more dangerous, they created more chances. The fact David Seaman was voted man of the match suggests that. But I think England go home champions. It's as simple as that. They have won the tournament. They did what Brazil couldn't do. They beat both Italy and France, and that's not something to go home disappointed about. And losing 1-0 isn't something to go home disappointed to. And I think what will be great for the players, Martin, is the fact that it's always difficult to look from here and say, what was it like to play against the Brazilians? How do you assess it? The players out there will be the best judges of that, how close they feel they were to being able to cope with them, match them, and even create them problems. And I think that's the great test of tonight for the players that were there.
Well, let's get some reaction from the players. Nick Collins is talking to Alan Shearer.
Thanks, Martin. Alan, England beaten tonight, but are you closing the gap between yourselves and Brazil?
Yeah, I think so. There was some very tired legs out there tonight. We've given everything we've got over the past month, and we've come out of it with tremendous credit.
What was the difference, do you think, between the two sides?
Not a great deal. Obviously, I think they passed it better than we did. They scored a very good goal from a tremendous player, and it was very difficult for us to get back into it then. But we always stood a chance at 0-0. It was very difficult to get the ball back once it went 1-0 up.
David, you managed to keep out the free kick from Roberto Carlos, but I mean, how much of a threat were they posing you?
Oh, they were, because I just said to him he'd do a bit harder next time. He gets a lot of power behind the ball and he bends it. That's what makes it difficult for the goalkeepers.
And Alan, just briefly, the tournament overall, how much of a success has it been?
Tremendous success, not just the tournament, the South Africa game, the Poland game, and all of the 3 games we've come out with, as I said, with tremendous credit. We couldn't have done any more, and yeah, we're certainly closing that gap.
All right, Alan, David, many thanks.
Well, Brazil going up to take their leave, and probably the reason they're wearing England shirts, some of them, is the England players were very, very keen, I know, to swap. But it would be nice to think, Andy, that those England jerseys will be regarded by the Brazilians as worthy souvenirs.
I think they will be. I think if England hadn't already, Mark, I think they've served notice that they will, if they manage to get through this sticky qualifying group, if they do get here in 12 months' time, 12 months today, then they will be a force. They will be regarded as one of the post-match, post-tournament favourites. I think we can be sure of that.
Yes, despite the defeat. The profile of England's football has been much raised. All of us here have detected a greater respect for our game from the observers who've come to the Tournoi, and the stage is now set for England to receive their reward for winning Le Tournoi, finishing first in a field that included the World Cup holders, the host nation for this and next year's finals, and the country that stands in the way of an automatic passport back here next summer. Well, that's quite a feat in itself.
It's worth seeing it again. It was a super goal that defeated David Seaman. Probably the fact they didn't blast it was the thing that took him by surprise. A little toe poke.
But England going up now to receive the trophy, and I hope the local television director here will give us shots of that for you, because it is congratulations to Glenn Hoddle and his happy band. With Poland away as well, it has been a marvellous effort. It's often the English way to question success, the attitude of the opposition here, the relevance of the match in Rome in October, but this is no time for such debates. It's a night to revel in a genuine triumph. And at the end of the England line, the captain will come, as is very much the way in these international events these days, to get the trophy itself. England are the international champions of 97, They deserve to be back as challengers for the World Cup in 12 months' time. It's a very delicate trophy made of crystal, and Alan Shearer handling it with due care and attention down the steps. And these moments don't happen very often, Andy, do they? For England, the first trophy really ever won outside of home soil. And it's been won by wins in swaggering style over Italy, a genuine away victory against France, the first time that they'd lost at home under Aimé Jacquet, and that sent shockwaves around this country, I can tell you. And tonight against the world champions, a match of fine margins, England losing it by the only goal of the game to one of the greats of world football, Romario. And the cry is, "We are the champions," and that is being sung in England's honour here in Paris tonight.
That's a great way to finish. It's been a terrific run past South Africa and Poland, Italy, France and Brazil now. We'll get the thoughts of Barry Venison and Ray Wilkins very shortly. A lot to talk about. Still one game to come, of course, tomorrow night. France and Italy play, but we'll be discussing this and much more when we come back with Glenn Hoddle. France, Trevor Francis and Alan Parry.
Thank you, Richard. Welcome to Paris, where in just over 12 months' time the champions of world football will be crowned. Not here in the Parc des Princes, but in a brand new stadium still under construction a few miles away. And tonight's opponents, I'm sure, would be on everyone's list of potential World Cup finalists, even though they both performed erratically in this tournament. France, of course, don't have to worry about qualifying as hosts. Their place is assured. But the team and coach Aimé Jacquet have been criticised in the French press for recent displays. So they make changes tonight. Chelsea's Frank Leboeuf gets a rare outing in place of Laurent Blanc, and Auxerre goalkeeper Lionel Charbonnier wins his first ever cap. In midfield, Christian Carambou has recovered from the ankle injury, which caused him to miss the match with England.
Well, in the two games that we've seen, Alan, the French have had problems obviously scoring goals, and they make the change tonight. Djorkaeff has come out the side, but they do stick to a back four, and Leboeuf, who we've seen all season playing very well for Chelsea, gets his opportunity tonight. On the right-hand side, Ba is an interesting player, great pace, just recently signed for AC Milan. He's got a tough night ahead of him because he'll be playing against one of his new teammates next season, Paolo Maldini.
Now look at the Italian lineup, and they go into the game in the unusual and undignified position of being bottom of the table. It may be a friendly tournament, but the Italian mentality is to hate losing. So they picked a team tonight designed to win, with the exciting prospect of Zola and Del Piero in the same team for the first time ever. Pagliuca gets another game in goal, and the Lazio defender Nesta also makes the starting lineup.
Well, Maldini's been experimenting in this tournament. I think that will continue tonight. He has been playing with wing-backs, but possibly tonight that could revert to a back three with Nesta, Cannavaro and Maldini, with Costa Curta doing the sweeping behind. We saw against Brazil, Cannavaro man-marking Ronaldo. Whether he'll do that on Dugarry, only time will tell.
Quick look at the substitutes. No Albertini on the Italian bench. He in fact is suspended for this game, as he will be for their next World Cup qualifying match. Well, we have no fewer than 3 players from Chelsea involved in the lineup tonight. Gianfranco Zola and Roberto Di Matteo, of course, for the Italians, and Frank Leboeuf in the French lineup. He doesn't get many chances. Laurent Blanc, one of the most experienced and most often selected defenders, so Leboeuf will be anxious to please tonight. The referee is from Spain, Jesus Lopez Nieto, and it's Italy in the change strip of white shirts and blue shorts who get the game underway. The England players already home, of course, the boys from Brazil on their way to South America for their championships. So it's left to France and Italy to bring down the curtain on the Tournoi and try to avoid the embarrassment of the wooden spoon. Big night as well. for the goalkeeper, Charbonnier. And the first corner to Italy. And the first test for Charbonnier, which he dealt with pretty capably. Brazil got 7 corners in the first 6 minutes here against England last night. Maldini, the captain. Clearance by Lebert. Zola. Ibrahim Bar won it back. Now Deschamps, the French captain. Good interplay between Zidane and Maurice, the new man. And now Bar, who occasionally excited with his pace down the right in the opening match against Brazil. Across an early test for the Italian defence. Clearance was by Alessandro Nesta. Now Frank Lebert. And Nesta called into action again. Now Lombardo. Zola. Alivio. Lizarazu with the interception. Maurice, his target. Navarro, who won his first full cap in Italy's 1-0 victory against England at Wembley and has now become a really established figure in the side. Cesare Maldini making changes. He's altered the personnel. He's certainly altered the style of play. And although they have not always pleased in this tournament, certainly there's a much happier atmosphere, it seems, around the Italian camp now, and the Italian press, who are famous for their vitriol, are praising the side and praising the manager these days. The World Cup qualification, as we all know in England, is still not certain for the Italians.
Just a word about the Italian formation, Alan. It's a very unusual midfield lineup. Di Livio and Lombardo prefer to play in wide areas. The only real recognised central midfield player is Di Matteo. At the moment, Zola is having to drop back, but then we're going to see that quite often tonight. Del Piero and Zola dropping back, trying to help out, leaving Casaraghi as the sole front runner.
A return by Dugarry, and Nesta fouled him, but the referee has said play on, a good decision. Lizarazu's cross too deep.
Disappointing cross, wasn't it, considering the amount of space he found himself in, under no pressure at all.
Disappointing performance by the ball boy as well, who left for Pagliuca to race over and retrieve it himself. Out of favour for the last 2 years. Lost his place to Peruzzi, but he's played now in the last 2 games here in France. Arambou for the French. And another early touch for Pagliuca, the world's most expensive goalkeeper. In fact, cost £7.5 million when he moved from Sampdoria to Inter 3 years ago.